The mysterious, the macabre, the out of this world. The following are real people. They have real stories, and they've had real encounters. Here tonight on Newsworthy, 2 words and 2 question marks.
He's alive! Have you checked the children? Get out!
Welcome back to Encounters, where tonight we have not one, but 2 amazing guests. We start with Cassy and Draken, who were having a nice leisurely kayaking trip until, that is, they had an encounter. Then we're going to talk to Brian, who had not one, but 2 great stories that were too good not to share with the rest of the world. Tonight on Newsworthy, 2 words and 2 question marks.
Hey guys, welcome back. We are here with Cassy and Draken today. I am so excited because she has a story that happened very recently on a kayaking trip. And see if some of these things sound familiar to many other encounters, if you will, because very creepy. Cassy, take it away.
Yeah, so me and my son Draken were kayaking back on July 25th, so Thursday before last. And we're kayaking at Paint Creek Lake. We went back a little cove and had sat at the end of the cove and had opened up into the creek. And we were just sitting on the mud bank, just kind of just chilling, hanging out. And all of a sudden, we both just kind of got a weird, uneasy feeling that we didn't need to be there anymore. He actually felt claustrophobic, even though it was like an open setting. It was really odd. So we decided, okay, well, we'd been there a couple of minutes. We go ahead and let's go back out the cove and back to the big lake. And as we start going out of the cove, there's 15 to 16 foot cliffs on each side. And as we're kind of going out to the right, there's about a 15-foot cliff face, and he's slightly ahead of me, about 10 foot. You hear from the right, and I've got it on video, from the right, you hear this rock. Like, it wasn't tiny, like it was a big, heavy rock. And you hear it coming through the distance, hitting leaves as it's coming through the leaf, like canopy. And it lands in the water about 12 foot away from the cliff face between me and him. And there was no birds, there was nothing. Like, you heard it coming, and I have it on video. It was unreal.
I've seen the video.
It's just crazy.
Dang.
Yeah.
And now, when you say where you live, there are lots of reports.
Yes.
Of things that
Yes, there's a lot of wood knocking. There's a lot of yelps. There's a lot of just that uneasy feeling. If you go on the actual creek, you'll smell that muddy smell,
Oh, yeah.
like that dirt smell. So, I mean, Grassman, Bigfoot, kind of in the same area of each other. You know something's around there. Like, it's just, you feel it, it. Everybody in the area knows about them.
Now, we're going to share, she sent the video to me. We're going to share that and link to it on our website. I can't wait. Cassy and Draken, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
Whoa. Bigfoot was throwing rocks at me. I would need a speedboat to get out of there. Now on to Brian, who has some crazy tales. One about his grandma, and I'll let the second one be a surprise.
Hello again, Jerry here. Got another guest that's got a very interesting story to tell us. Mr. Brown, thank you first of all for stopping by and taking time out of your day to share your story and let us know what happened.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, like Jerry here said, I'm Brian. This is our first time here at the Bigfoot convention or Bigfoot festival, and our last time actually, because we're moving to Florida in the month.
Gotcha.
Anyway, I got 2 stories to tell. One is I was about 19, 20 years old. I was laying in my college dorm room bed, and the only way to get into our college doors, so into our dorm room itself, is you gotta have a key. There's only 2 people that had a key, me and my roommate. So I'm laying there in bed. It's about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Laying there, and I had this feeling I need to wake up. I woke up and I looked at my door. My door was wide open.
Not a good sign.
Not a good thing to see, really.
Not at 2:30 in the morning.
No. So I look over. All of a sudden, my grandmother comes in, and my grandmother goes, "Brian, I love you, but I gotta go, and I'll see you later." I said, "Okay, Grandma, I love you too, and I'll see you later." Door closed. I laid my head back down for maybe, I'd say about 10, 15 minutes. My phone rings. It was my mother crying, saying my grandmother died. I never sat there and cried. I never, got, super emotional because my grandmother came and said, she loved me and goodbye.
She told you about it.
Yeah. And
No, this wasn't a dream.
this was not a dream. She actually passed away. Because, I mean, with my wife right here behind me, we were only seeing each other for about a month or so. She met my grandmother once, and that was it. And a week after that happened, we had the funeral for her. And it's still one of those stories that kind of, gets my emotions going. And
Not to.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So nice to have a goodbye.
yeah,
So nice for her to think enough of you to want to stop by and tell you goodbye before
Yeah.
she left. But still, if it was me, I wouldn't know how to feel.
yeah.
What the crap has happened to me?
I've told this story to, family members. I told my dad because my dad is, what got me into the cryptids and Bigfoots, all that kind of stuff. And oddly enough, my dad actually said the same thing to me. Said that before his grandmother passed away. She came and visited him and said, "I love you, gotta go." And,
Apparently, it's just family tradition in your
yeah,
family.
it is apparently. So I told we told a preacher at our local church, and our local church goes, "Oh, you were visited by the Holy Ghost." And I was like, very interesting. And that's what made me more of a believer in Christ or whatever else is out there. So
Sure. Yeah. You mentioned you had 2 stories?
yeah, the other story here is, we live up by Cleveland, Ohio. We live, or yeah. So one night I decided to go do some night fishing for catfish, carp, or whatever I caught. So I'm just sitting there. It's a pretty secluded area, and all around is nothing but thick, heavy woods. So I'm just like, okay, fine. But all of a sudden I hear some ruffling. I have a light. I'm shining it. I'm looking. I don't see anything. But I sit here and I think back. It's like, man, I'm hearing like these massive tree branches break. I'm hearing some heavy thuds going on, and there's nobody else around. And I'm just sitting here going, I tell you what, like I'm going to either back out of here slowly or something's going on. But then all of a sudden, out of the woods, I heard this deep rumble and this deep growl. I'm just like, yeah, I think I'm done. Like I started reeling in my lines, started packing up my tackle box. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I hear this sound of rolling coming down this hill. And all of a sudden, I look over, shine my light, and I caught this boulder falling into the water just at the same time. And I'm like, something's big enough to move this. I'm a pretty big guy, and I'm like, something's able to move that, I'm out. So, yep, my son here was with me when that actually happened. So,
As well.
yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
I agree. That's exactly what I would be saying.
Yeah.
We've heard so many stories today. The thing that blows me away the most is this one woman had this ghost that all kind of experiences. She still wants to go back to that house to see it again.
Oh my gosh.
You know what? Once. That's all that has to happen. Once. I'm gone.
Yep.
I'm out.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't get scared of a lot of things, but when there's things that like that kind of thing when I'm out fishing that I can't explain, then I'm out. I'm done.
A
So
couple of questions. One, how have these experiences changed you, your perception towards all of it? How's it changed it?
so with the first story I told, how that's changed me is I grew up in Christian family, but I kind of went away from that because of people really ruining what the word is. And I mean, I don't know how religious this podcast is or anything, but to me, I wasn't believing at the time. And when that happened, that really made me think, like, maybe there's something else out there. Maybe there, maybe there's answers out there that, we want, or maybe there's questions out there that we want the answers to, but the answers aren't going to be given to us until it's time for us to have. And with the second story of that boulder coming down and the growls and everything, I don't know about that one. I don't know how that's changed me, but all I know is that I take a bunch of lights with me now when I do night fishing, just because, I want to be able to capture whatever it is. Because if I have, some good lighting and a camera on me, I'm going to try to take pictures.
If it were me, it would make me more receptive at Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or cryptid stories.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, bud.
Bill.
Sure.
Because at first I thought it was a bill, but I just remember there's no bill at all.
There's bears in Ohio, but there's not bears up by where we live at.
What are the odds that a bear's going to decide, I don't want these guys here fishing, so I'm going to roll a boulder?
Yeah.
Pretty small. Right?
Yeah.
I think pretty small. Last question. When you tell these stories over the years, what one thing do people most often misunderstand, get wrong? What, looking back on it, what would you say now? What would you say to these people to keep that from happening again?
I would actually sit there and just tell people to, keep an open mind. There's things, there's things in this world that we just can't explain. There's things that go on in our daily lives that we overlook every day.
We don't have to have an answer
Yeah.
for every single.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I always thought, once when I'm, gone, barely 6 foot hole, put me in a pine box. But at the same time, it's like, well, maybe there's something else. Maybe there's some other way to look at this.
Can't argue with that.
So, I mean, the only thing I can really say is just keep an open mind about everything.
Very well put. Very well put. Brian, thank you so much for
Yes.
taking time out of your day to stop by and share your story with us. We certainly appreciate it. And you guys have a great day.
Yes, you too.
And Jerry, if you can't see the light,
Be the light.